الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So as we continue discussing the book Al-Arba'in al-Nawawiyah, where in the last session that we had completed discussing Hadith 19. So today, inshallah ta'ala, that will be discussing Hadith number 20, and we'll follow the system that we, the approach that we have, which is to mention the Hadith and then discuss concerning different aspects regarding the Rawi, also at-Takhrij, also regarding the Mawdu', and also the explanation of the Hadith and the benefits that can be taken from the Hadith. So we start, inshallah ta'ala, by mentioning the Hadith and then discuss the Hadith بأمر الله تعالى. أيوة.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Hadith number 20. Shyness is from Iman. On the authority of Abu Mas'ud Uqba ibn Amr al-Ansari al-Badri radiallahu anhu, that he said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, from the words obtained from the first prophecy are, if you have no shyness, then do as you wish. Related by Bukhari.
So that's the hadith that has been read, that we'll be discussing concerning the hadith mentioned. And Abi Mas'ud Uqba ibn Amr al-Ansari al-Badri رضي عنه قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام إن مما أدرك الناس من كلام النبوة الأولى إذا لم تستحي فاصنع ما شئت رواه Bukhari. So this is the hadith that has been mentioned here. This being the hadith number collection. So as we mentioned, that is fall under the hadith we said Jawami' al-Kalim, where very few words but the meaning somewhat is vast. The meaning is vast. So Imam they mentioned regarding of those things that Nawawi rahimahullah, that whenever he mentioned the Sahabi first, he'll mention him by his full name. So he mentioned Abi Mas'ud, so his name is Abu Mas'ud Uqba ibn Amr al-Ansari al-Badri. So that's concerning this Sahabi that is being mentioned. So his name Uqba ibn Amr al-Ansari. He's from the Ansar, and the Ansar that's a tribe that consists of two, that is al-Aws wal-Khazraj, that they're mainly al-Ansar, meaning from those of al-Medina, from those who are from Medina, and the two main tribe of Medina, that they are al-Aws wal-Khazraj. And they are referred to as an Ansari, that based upon that they aided the Prophet of Islam, and also those who came from Mecca when they made migration, that they aided and assisted them regarding settling in Medina. So they refer to concerning al-Medina from the believers, that they refer to as al-Ansari. So that's concerning this particular Sahabi that is mentioned. And take into account regarding concern that is mentioned as this particular Sahabi, that make a distinction between Abi Mas'ud and Ibn Mas'ud. So this is Abi Mas'ud. And then we have Ibn Mas'ud. So Ibn Mas'ud is Mecca. Now I'm the early one to accept Islam. So you have at times even some books that at times they are kind of somewhat, you might find that they may mention Abi Mas'ud as Ibn Mas'ud. So to make that distinction between both, is mentioned regarding concerning al-Badri, as they mentioned that it did not, as he referred to as al-Badri, based upon not that he participated in the Battle of Badr. So he's not mentioned, or Badri is not because of his participation in the Battle of Badr, but he's referred to as al-Badri, based on that he settled in that area of al-Badr. So Badr area where concerning that battle took place. But this Abi Mas'ud, that he wasn't a participant in that battle, rather he settled in that area, so it's called al-Badri. Nam, even though there's a khilaf between ulama on that matter, so you find that Jumhur of the ulama, that they had a view that he did not participate in Al-Badr, but he settled in that region or in that area of Medina, so he referred to as Al-Badri. Even I mentioned that Al-Bukhari and Muslim, that that he did participate, but Jumhur of the ulama of Hadith said he did not. So you have that discussion between the ulama. So that's concerning that he participating in Uhud and what came after regarding the different battles. Then eventually, later on in his life, that he went and settled in Kufa. So later on, he went and settled in Kufa. And also his hadith can be found in Bukhari and Muslim and other books of hadith. So his hadith can be found in Bukhari, Muslim and other books of hadith. As for concerning that is al-wafat, when he died, Tawafa bil Medina, that eventually so he died, his place of death was in Medina. And some mentioned that he died in Kufa, as mentioned before, that he went to settle in Kufa. So of the ulama who hold that he did settle in Kufa and also died there. But others who hold that he died in Medina, that he died in Medina. So a khilaf between the ulama regarding exactly where he died. They mentioned at the time of his death is Sana Ihda wa Arba'in, that he died either the 41st or the 42nd year of the Hijrah. But I mentioned, so, and this 42nd is more of the Qawl al-Raji. The Qawl al-Raji, the more correct, I mentioned that he died the 42nd year of the Hijrah. So that's concerning this particular Sahabi, Abi Mas'ud, Uqba ibn Amr al-Ansari al-Badri. The next regarding to be discussed in the hadith regarding concerning the wording of the hadith, or before we went on to concerning takhrij of the hadith. So takhrij of the hadith. So now we'll start with takhrij of the hadith. So I've mentioned here concerning Rawahu Bukhari. So the hadith is mentioned by Imam Bukhari rahimullah, and he didn't mention anyone else. Al-Busiri in his brief comment regarding this Arba'in, mainly regarding his comment regarding matters pertaining to takhrij. So it's Busiri that he mentioned that the hadith wa Abu Dawud, the hadith in the Bukhari and also Abu Dawud. So from Kutub al-Sitta, this hadith can be found in al-Bukhari, in his Sahih, and also Abu Dawud in his Sunan. Overall, addition to other sources outside Bukhari, Abu Dawud, that this hadith can be found in Tayalisi in his Musnad, Ibn Jad, Ahmed in his Musnad, also in other books of hadith, that this hadith also can be found. Al-Bayhaqi fi Sunan al-Kubra, and also in his book Shu'ab al-Iman by Bayhaqi, that also this hadith can be found also in Sahih or Ibn Hibban in Sahih. So this hadith I've mentioned numerous places where the hadith can be found. So overall regarding this hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim, narrated by Bukhari, also Abu Dawud, also the hadith can be found in Tayalisi, Ibn Jad, Ahmed in his Musnad. Also Bukhari rahimahullah mentioned the hadith in another of his book, which is Al-Adab al-Mufrad. So Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he has several books or works. Of those works that mainly discuss concerning the adab and the conduct of the Muslim, that he titled his book Al-Adab al-Mufrad, a very important book regarding matters relating to al-adab that the Muslim should adorn themselves with. So also mention Abu Dawud and others who have narrated this particular hadith. So that's concerning takhrij in brief regarding the hadith, regarding the wording of the hadith. So the wording of the hadith, before the wording of the hadith, that the narration I mentioned, Abi and Abi Mas'ud. So that's concerning most of those who narrated the hadith, and the hadith concerning Al-Ribi, that some of them mentioned the hadith and Hudayfa. So you find some narrators, so majority of those who narrate the hadith by way of the Sanad, they'll mention and Mansur and Ribi and Ibn Mas'ud and Abi Mas'ud, that the hadith goes back to from Mansur, Al-Rib'i and Abi Mas'ud. And you find that most narrate the hadith regarding the hadith going back to Abu Mas'ud al-Ansari. But we have some narration, which is the narration of Abu Malik al-Ashja'i, Sa'd ibn Tariq, that he mentioned, and Rib'i and Hudayfa. So instead of saying Abi Mas'ud, he said, another narration mentioned Hudayfa. But this narrator, Abu Malik Ashja'i, is the only one that narrates on Hudayfa. Everyone else narrates the hadith going back to Abi Mas'ud. But Abu Malik Asjahi is the only one with his isnad, and Rib'i and Hudayfa. So they mentioned, so that's concerning. So you have those who, the hadith, most of the narrators, that they have attributed the hadith to Abu Mas'ud, of one narrator, Abu Malik, with his narration, the hadith, it goes back to whom? Hudayfa. They mentioned, so the ulama of hadith regarding their commentary, and it's mentioned that they find it concerning, is both narration authentic or there was an error. So the narration regarding Hudayfa, is this an error or is it correct? Meaning concerning is Sahih or not Sahih. They mention out of al-Bazzar rahimahullah قال هذا حديث قد اختلف فيه عن ربي قال قال منصور عن ربي عن أبي مسعود فقال أبو مالك عن ربي عن حذيفة. So you can somewhat I like that there's an khilaf between the ulama. Then they mentioned that regarding is the hadith of Abi Mas'ud or is the hadith of Hudayfa. So it shows regarding the ulama of hadith sometimes can be very meticulous and has to be regarding concerning the study of hadith. So regarding concerning is this hadith from the Musnad go back to Abu Mas'ud or does actually go back to Hudayfa. They mentioned regarding Ibn Abdul Barr rahimahullah that he mentioned that when he mentioned that the narration of this hadith of Hudayfa, going back to Hudayfa, mentioned هذا الحديث خطأ, that is an error. So narration going back to Hudayfa is an error, meaning that that narration is going back to Hudayfa, an error have occurred. The hadith actually goes back to Abu Mas'ud. Then I mentioned ويقال, and it is stated إن الخطأ فيه عن أبي مالك الأشجعي, that the error goes back to this narrator Abu Malik Ashja'i. Also Abu Zur'a al-Razi, again of the ulama of hadith, in discussing concerning this hadith also, they mention regarding قال Abu Zur'a al-Razi قال الصحيح, what is correct, and Rib'i and Abi Mas'ud. So again Abu Zur'a correcting or clarifying that it had the correct narration, the authentic narration, go back to Abi Mas'ud, not that of Hudayfa. Third of those of the ulama who commented on this, they mentioned ad-Daraqutni. So all these ulama that I mentioned are ulama from the 4th century, before the 5th century. And these are concerning not some of the big names of hadith, regarding commenting on hadith, that Abu Zur'a, Ibn Abdul Barr, also ad-Daraqutni, that these are some of the big names regarding commenting on hadith, regarding enough matters regarding al-ilal. ad-Daraqutni rahimahullah يقال والحديث أبي مسعود هو الصحيح قال هو الصواب, that the hadith going back to Abi Mas'ud, it is the one which is correct. This is the one which is the correct narration. So that's concerning that discussion between the ulama of hadith regarding that we have some narration. So the majority of the narrators have narrated the hadith and Abi Mas'ud, but a single narrator have narrated the hadith of going back to Hudayfa, and they mention that this is something which is that narration going back to Hudayfa, it is incorrect. It's not the correct narration. The next of the hadith regarding this next matter regarding the wording of this hadith. So you have the wording of the hadith. So the narration mentioned إن مما أدرك الناس من كلام النبوة الأولى إذا لم تستحي فاصنع ما شئت. So that's the narration in the Bukhari. That's the narration in the al-Bukhari. Of those narrations, that narration in Ahmad ibn Hanbal and his most Ahmad and other dimension, إن آخر ما تعلق به آل جاهلية من كلام النبوة إذا لم تستحي فافعل ما شئت. So other narration, it comes with a wording, meaning إن آخر ما تعلق به آل جاهلية, the last or the final of those things that the people of Jahiliyyah were attached to from the speech of Nabuwa, of prophetic speech. They mention that if you do not have haya or do not have any form of shyness or shame, then do as you wish. So you have that difference in wording. So they mention faf'al, the other one mentioned fasna. So the narration of Bukhari mentioned fasna. The narration of this other one mentioned faf'al. So carry out. The one mentioned fasna, do as you wish. The other mentioned faf'al, which give the same meaning. but difference in wording. Difference in wordings. So I mentioned regarding concerning of this concern the kalam of the people of Jahiliyyah, that they still held back or still remain with them of the kalam that is the kalam of Nabuwah, the kalam of the speech of prophethood. Another narration of the hadith, it mentions that you have another narration, the hadith, they mentioned that Ruya, Nahwi, and Abu Tufail, and Nabi al-Islam, قال. So there's a third narration, another Sahabi, who's Abu Tufail. So his narration, and that narration it is found in Tabarani, in his book Al-Awsat, and Al-Haythami, في مجمع قال فيه من لم نعرفهم. That there's people that there's narration that we do not know. So of those Al-Haythami, he mentioned regarding this particular hadith, this third narration, and the third Sahabi, who's Abu Tufail. Upon the Prophet ﷺ, we mentioned كان يقال, it would be said, or it was said, إن ممن أدرك الناس من كلام النبوة إذا لم تستحي فاصنع ما شئت. That it is mentioned concerning this narration of Abu Tufail, that the wording which is somewhat similar, but this narration Abu Tufail is in the Tabarani, but that narration is also daif, based upon jahala of some of the narrators. So even the wording is somewhat similar, very similar, but that narration in the Tabarani on Abu Tufail, Sahabi, going back to the Prophet ﷺ, that narration is daif. Then you have a next narration that goes back to that goes back to the mention, and Ibn Mas'ud. They mention a fourth Sahabi. There's a fourth Sahabi. So we have so we are mentioned first. The main narrator is Abu Mas'ud. Aywa. Say it with Aywa. This is Abu Mas'ud. That's the correct version. Then we have a second Sahabi, who's Hudayfa. So that's not, so it's not the difference in wording, but the difference in Sahabi regarding, is it Abi Mas'ud or Hudayfa? So Hudayfa, that one is incorrect. It's actually Abi Mas'ud. Then also you have another Sahabi that comes into play, which is Abu Tufail. His narration with Tabarani, we mentioned that one is daif. Then we have now another narration which they mention regarding concerning that it mentioned an Abi Wahil and Ibn Mas'ud. عن ابن مسعود أن النبي الإسلام أن قال إن آخر ما حفظ من كلام النبوة. So this narration of Ibn Mas'ud, Ibn Mas'ud, that I mentioned, it states in the آخر, which is difference in wording, إن آخر ما حفظ من كلام النبوة, that what we have memorized or what we have still retain of the speech or prophetic speech, what I mentioned, إذا لم تستحي فاصنع ما شئت, that if you do not have shame, then do as you wish. But this narration, we mentioned slight difference in word in the first sentence, but the meaning generally is the same. The meaning generally is same, but this narration on Ibn Mas'ud, also narrated by Tabarani in his book Al-Awsat, wa Ibn Qutayba in his book Tahwil Mukhtalif al-Hadith, and they mention فيه الليث. One narrator who's Layth, قال الليث is daif. So is daf, his weaknesses, they said mashhur, it is well known. So those narrations are all daif, except the narration of Abi Mas'ud. Of Abu Mas'ud. Aywa. So that's concerning matters regarding at-takhrij of the hadith. That's concerning what is framed as at-takhrij of the hadith. Next, of what is mentioned regarding concerning that Hamid had a hadith, the importance of the status of this hadith. What's the status of this hadith? In a sense concerning what have been said by the ulama regarding the importance of this hadith. So what have been mentioned by the ulama regarding how they have viewed this hadith and the status of this hadith. They mentioned one of the ulama, name is Kattani, that he mentioned his nazam that discussed something hadith mutawatir, that he has this nazam, this type of poetry regarding a hadith which is said to be mutawatir. So mutawatir hadith, we said that you have many who have narrated that hadith. So hadith mutawatir, where they mentioned that he included this hadith as hadith mutawatir regarding, as they mentioned, that matters relating to haya, that regarding concerning haya min al-Iman. So he mentioned include this hadith within those hadith as mutawatir regarding al-haya, regarding shyness. And having, so he includes concerning this as hadith al-mutawatir relating to the topic of haya, shyness. Then also Manawi, rahimahullah, he have mentioned regarding this hadith, alayhi madar Islam, that he mentioned that includes al-Manawi, he includes this hadith as those hadith that Islam revolves around this hadith. Min hayth, by way of, as I mentioned, inna al-fi'l, that the person doing an act, imma an tastahi minhu wa huwa al-haram makruh, that either the action where the person is shy in doing that things, he's shy, he feels shameful in doing those things. So there's actions that a person in carrying out those actions, they feel shame. Nam? So he said no, by either that act, but due to that act being something which is haram, prohibited, or makruh. So the person feels shame because they're doing something they should not be doing, by way of either the act is something which is haram or makruh. What khilaf al-awla, or they do something which is contrary to what is best. So I mentioned وَإِجْتِنَابِهَا ashar, where the person is supposed to avoid this act. So this hadith have this type of place with the ulama, based upon, he says it revolves around Islam regarding avoiding things which is haram, and things that a person that is not in line with the Sharia. So the person should feel shame, a shame in carrying out something that they should not be doing based upon the Sharia. So it falls in those matters regarding being it falls regarding madar Islam. It falls around those matters that relates to al-Islam. In brief, that al-shar, so the mawdu of this hadith, so the next matter regarding the mawdu of this hadith. What's the topic of this hadith? So they mentioned in the chapter heading, what they mentioned in the chapter heading, what is the title as? So the title they put there.
Shyness is from Iman.
That's the mawdu, that's the topic of this hadith. So the topic of this hadith is to discuss concerning, it is being mentioned as a thing that the Muslim should be paid his matter attention regarding, as I mentioned, having some level of shyness, where it stops the person from doing things that are unbefitting. If that person does not have this level of shyness, then that person is open to do anything. You do anything without, because there's nothing that's stopping, which is, there's no barrier, internal barrier, which is shyness within himself, or he feel embarrassed doing it in front of others, or people knowing that he's doing this. If those things are removed, then the person, he just does as he wishes. So they mention this hadith as with that topic heading. That topic heading is not from Nawawi, but it is from those who have translated the book, that they have just kind of somewhat put that to highlight that this is the mawdu of the hadith, which is regarding al-haya. We'll come to that part concerning first namashit. Yes, a command must regard concerning a person. Do as you wish. Then says that, so as the Amr mean concerning the person who's like this, then he'll carry out whatever he wants. He'll do as he wants. You understand? They said no, there's no boundaries for him or for her. That person regarding what they do, they don't say that. I would say that he doesn't care about what he does. So you have that discussion regarding to the person that he doesn't per se, there's nothing to hold him back regarding whatever action that he wants to carry out. He just do as he wants. So the person, I would say, a carefree approach regarding doing things. So I mentioned that where we're at, the mawdu of the the hadith. So said that the hadith, it centers regarding concerning of those hadith. We said the wordings are few, but the main theme of this particular hadith is regarding that the person, that if there's nothing to hold the person back, and of those things regarding al-Hayat, the person have this shyness, then if there's no shame, then there's the person, then he'll do whatever. He'll do whatever, follow his desire in anything. They mentioned regarding concerning al-mana ijmali, so concerning the meaning ijmali, so a general meaning of hadith, brief general meaning of hadith. Inna mimma adrak, that regarding concerning that inna mimma adrak an-nas, that of those things that have reached the people still remain amongst the people. I said some narration mentioned the people of Jahiliyyah. So an-nas, so the word nas, you mean the people, that the people who are intended are those people of Jahiliyyah. But it mentioned an-nas, so it mentioned of those things that the people that still remain amongst the people. Of those things that are those things that still remain, or those statements or things that still live amongst the people, that is regarding concerning that min kalam al-nabuwa, of kalam al-ula, regarding previous prophets. So these are of those things, the remnants of what have been mentioned, have reached the people, or still amongst the people, from the speech or the advice of the anbiya, the prophets before, that it mentions min kalam al-nabuwa al-ula, meaning previous prophets. Then I mentioned that if one, so I said no, that if you do not have haya, then do whatever you want. You'll do whatever you want to do. So it shows concern, this kalam is from the anbiya of before. So it shows that this kalam is from the prophets of before. So it shows that matters regarding, so said that regarding concerning that one regarding speech of the anbiya before. Either it is in the Sharia of ours that it fall in line where it is advice or words of advice, but it is it says no, but it is beneficial advice. So kalam of the anbiya before, it's still the Prophet Islam have repeated those things, meaning our Prophet Islam have repeated those things regarding concerning advice given to previous prophets, advice, beneficial advice given to them regarding certain matters. So beneficial advice on previous prophets, that we also, it still remain with us, and our Prophet Islam also bringing that to our attention. So it shows regarding concerning that the use of kalam of people before, that is of benefit, then can be used. And more so regarding kalam of the anbiya. Kalam of the anbiya, that is of benefit, that still applicable to any nation or to any person, then one can benefit from this. One can benefit from this. So it shows regarding concern, you have method, so said that's one method regarding the kalam of the nabuwa, of the prophets, that we can still benefit from previous prophets regarding advice or things of benefit that they taught to their nations. That does not contradict our Sharia. Then regarding, that's concerning words of advice. Regarding also anbiya, regarding concern that also the ulama discussed concerning the Sharia man qablana. Regarding concerning of the law, the legislation of the Sharia of the Sharia of previous anbiya, are we allowed to act upon them? Are we allowed to apply them? Clear? So we have the anbiya before, they were giving laws. So their law, and then we have our law of Islam today, of Muhammad Islam. That over or in general, that does are we allowed to take anything? Are we allowed to practice things of their law or not? So on this matter regarding concerning the ulama discussed concerning al-Sharia man qablana. So amongst the ulama of usul al-fiqh, the ulama of usul al-fiqh. So of those things that they discuss in usul al-fiqh, it covers 4 main areas. Usul al-fiqh cover 4 main areas. Who knows? What are those? 1, al-masadir al-tashri'. So So come back. So point. Remember, so usul al-fiqh. First, it clarified regarding ahkam at-taklifiyya, ahkam shar'iyya, regarding knowing what is meant by what is halal, what is haram, what does wajib, what does mustahab, makruh, what does these terminology means. This is, we said, this is a shart. This is conditional. So usul al-fiqh, a section of usul al-fiqh, will discuss what these terms, what do they mean. Clear? So that's discussing concerning ahkam. What these ahkam, these words that we use, terminology, what do they mean? When a person says something is halal, something is haram, that is wajib, mustahab, this is fadila. So it clarifies these terminologies. Clear? Then the next aspect of it, of usul al-fiqh, that it clarifies regarding al-masadir at-tashri'ah. What are the valid sources of Islamic law? What can we use as a source of law? What are our reference regarding Islamic law? So those references, they put them into two categories. Those ones mujma alayh, those ones that are somewhat agreed upon. Quran is Allah, Sunnah, Allah, ijma is a source of law, and the fifth, Quran first, Sunnah second, ijma third, and the fourth, al-qiyas, as-sahih, or mu'tabar. So qiyas. Now, except for the Zahiriyah, they reject qiyas. Now, but overall, jumhur of the ulama, that they're all concerning that of those sources, reference sources regarding Islamic law that one can use are those four: Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, wal Qiyas. So a person wants to derive law, you can use of those sources, each according to with rules and guidelines. Now, so the second half of the law that is discussed, are these things legitimate source of Islamic law? Are they? They are, for example, of one of those discussed, they mention regarding ash-sharia man qablana, ash-shar man qablana, the law, the legislation of those who preceded us, meaning those preceded concerned from the anbiya. So previous prophets who had a law, are we allowed to use aspect of their law? Clear? So you have that discussion between the ulama. Now, so you have that discussion, they kind of break it down regarding, so it is breaking down where in cases yes, and in cases then it goes back to a discussion when it can be used or not be used. But overall, that so you have of their law before, that our law, Islamic law, affirm it and also coincide with it. Yes, as a general thing, that Islam, so our Islam, the Prophet Muhammad Islam, is law, abrogate everything before. Nam, so that's why it's discussed. That's the general idea. So the thing now says, not the Sharia man qabla. Is it then? How can we use it? How does it fall into the scheme of things as a source of law? So I said it abrogates. Does it mean in every aspect? In some things, yes, and in some things, no. In matters of tawheed, it does abrogate tawheed. Nam and Aqidah. But in things of the law, or you carry certain things, they might find certain things that it may be different from the law of those before. Nam, so we mentioned that, for example, of the Sharia of those before, that the previous nations, I was discussing before yesterday concerning Musa alayhi salam, that we pray how many times a day? How many times a day we pray? 5. 5. But in the law before, they pray more. Because when Musa alayhi salam to the Prophet said that 50, you understand, reduce it, because they were praying more than we were. Now, also regarding concerns, so it seems that the amount of time that they pray per day seems more than what we pray today. Now, also regarding concerning with their law of previous laws, that they were not allowed to pray except inside the masjid. So to pray outside, no. Nam. So as we also discussed in the Hadith in Bukhari concerning of those 5 things concerning which is that is specific to us concerning of those things that regarding tayammum. Is it something that they were allowed before or not? Right? So you'll find certain things that are discussed regarding, so there's things that we may do that nations before were not privy to those things, where either things, so you'll find in those cases here. So discuss concerning the Sharia man qablana, the law of those who were before, regarding from the Anbiya, not man-made laws. So from Anbiya, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to them, our legislation completely abrogated, or there are things that cross over? So those who mentioned that things that from their law, our law, the Prophet Islam have mentioned, confirmed that this was from their practice. But also we adopt that. So they prayed and we pray. But maybe a bit different, but there's still the idea of salah, siyam, they pray, they fast, we also fast. So the general act of salat, siyam, and hajj, we and them, we share that. As for the fine detail, we differ. As I mentioned, we are allowed to pray outside the masjid. They were not. They had to pray only in the place of worship. So those things that we said, things that have been confirmed by our legislation that they did, and we can somewhat adopt it, then there's no question on those matters. They have a next matter regarding that. There, in our text, it proved, confirmed that they did something, but our Sharia says different. Our Sharia says different. So it's confirmed that yes, they did this. But in our Sharia, it says different. Then we go with what? Our Sharia. We go with our Sharia. So those ones are now clearly abrogated. Then we have things which is now confirmed, that things that are confirmed in their Sharia, but in our Sharia there's no mention of it. Whether yes or no, is silent on those matters. But it's been affirmed regarding something, maybe something done by those before. So then that becomes now the mahal, the area of now difference between the ulama. So in that area now become a difference between the ulama regarding something been confirmed. Yes, it was of their practice, been confirmed, but in our Sharia, it's what? There's no mention, it's silence. So in that case, you find the ulama, they said you have a discussion between the ulama, those who say yes and those who say no. Allahu alam, regarding concerning the ones who say yes, more correct. If it is confirmed in the Sharia before, and our Sharia is silent on it can be adopted. It could be adopted. Then the fourth case that have to be mindful of, regarding something that our Sharia does not confirm. It is mentioned in some of their scriptures, but our Sharia doesn't confirm that thing. There's nothing in our Sharia that confirm that this practice is confirmed through our text, but it's confirmed in their text. Then those matters as their business, have nothing to do with us. That's their business. Nothing. So an accusation against even some of the Anbiya regarding certain matters. You understand? Regarding concerning certain matters regarding the Anbiya. You understand? So it's that no, those matters that because there's nothing in our text to say that mention anything of it, then we leave those matters. We don't per se dwell too much on those matters. We don't dwell into those matters. So some of the people who sometimes have manakisha that they debate, we say those Christians, you understand, have to be mindful of those things. That don't go into, because sometimes you have a manakisha, a debate in a person, if you're discussing something where he's affirming something that I don't affirm it, there's no point in us having a debate. We can't debate on something where both sides are not agreed upon that point. That's one of the points of debate. So said now, if you concern the person who says that, so sometimes debating certain matters, with a Christian, the person have to have certain usul al-fiqh with them. That's what I have to say. So debating, a person going to give da'wah to the general public, he just giving out things and talk about Islam. You talk about Islam, that's it. But when you start to enter into other fields, then you have to be mindful that now your understanding of Islam now have to be on the next level. Because you might go into matters that, you have to understand what's the Islamic principle on this matter. What's the Islamic understanding on this matter? So you have to understand the Islamic approach so you don't fall into error. You fall into error. Also, that's concerning that matter. So also it shows regarding the general meaning of hadith that we discussed further regarding and mentioned that as the hadith state, inna mimma adraka nas. I also said some narration mentioned nas, what may be intended by nas ali jahiliyyah. The people concerned that at times you might find that certain speech that may be said to be a speech of wisdom, but it is not per se go back to a prophet, may go back to a wise person. Is that person it is used, but how to use it, used in its proper context. So you might find certain speech is not per se a speech of prophets. Maybe a person said to be a wise person, then those things at times can be used, but in their proper context. Because even in Islamic literature, sometimes regarding certain things, they mention like words of or speeches of people that are somewhat of things that have some benefit. So like wise statements sometimes are used regarding the people of Jahiliyyah. So sometimes it can be used in its proper context, used in their proper context, if the meaning is correct and in line with Islam and does not contradict Islam. So they mentioned that min kalam an-nubuwwah al-ula regarding prophets, previous prophets. Regarding so what they mentioned, that is meant by previous prophet. They mentioned إذا لم تستحي. So you have different wording. إذا لم تستحي وتستح. So you have different wording regarding concerning how this is used. But it is general, so that's concerning that. So they mentioned regarding concerning a person who does not have haya, shyness, then the person is open to do as he wish and function without per se any boundaries. Function without any boundaries. So this concerning haya could be by the person concerning of iman. So the haya that he have within himself is, as I said, al-haya shub min al-iman. That haya is a branch of iman. So having haya, we said no haya. They said shame. A person at this level of, what's the other word that is used? Modesty, or that the person has something that hold him back from just behaving as he wish and do as he wish. So something holds the person back. If that level of but haya, we'll discuss concerning haya, but if those things are not present regarding haya, then the person is prone to do as he would. The person of haya, then it kind of somewhat becomes it could be based upon iman, or the person of certain principles that he follows as a person, that he doesn't cross certain lines, or that haya, it could be by the person that is shame of how people look at him. So he doesn't just do as he wish. He doesn't do as he wish. And as we mentioned regarding concern from this hadith also regarding of those people who are foremost regarding of being mindful of this hadith regarding those people. One, talib al-ilm, that he has to function not as an ordinary person. So a talib al-ilm, regarding concerning he cannot see himself as an ordinary person. Not to say that he's better than the people. We're not saying that. But in the sense that if it's a talib al-ilm, that his mission, his purpose is to what? Call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and teach the people the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with being a talib al-ilm, or a person who's a carrier of knowledge, you have rules and regulation regarding how they function. So talib al-ilm, so say like in every field, as a you have certain protocol that the people of that field, they follow. Sahamla. So as a doctor, you have certain expectation regarding how you behave and conduct yourself. And whatever type, as for example, the head of state, you have certain type of protocol regarding his conduct that he's supposed to follow. And so you have in society certain type of protocol where people are supposed to, if certain people of standing supposed to follow. So a talib al-ilm, a person of standing and status. So of those people regarding, being mindful regarding how they function, and is the talib al-ilm or the people of ilm, then also regarding concerning, so being mindful of that. I said also the people of ad-deen. So those people also who fall into this, the people who are upon their deen. So those people upon their deen regarding their practice of Islam, trying to be very mindful and obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and try to hold to the teaching of Islam. Also for them to know that how they function, they cannot just function how they want. If you say that you are being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that there's guidelines, that there's rules and there's principles and there's boundaries that are in place. So the person who's practicing is Islam, then there's boundaries that he has to stay within. The person who's a talib al-ilm, there's guidance and boundaries he has to stay within. So there's standards that are there. There's standards that are in place to be followed. So with this, inshallah ta'ala, that will end this discussion, will end today's session of discussing the hadith, this particular hadith, the 20th hadith. And inshallah ta'ala, next week we'll try to complete the hadith regarding ashar at-tafsili. We're going to a more detailed explanation of hadith. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهذا السبيل والآخر والحمد لله.